Good.
Hola, and welcome to another episode of the Money Chisme podcast. And today's chisme, we are going to get into a little bit of like the business side of starting like your own business, the struggles with that, and even a little bit of the money mindset of, that we deal with in our community. And I'm so excited to have a special guest today, Maria Delgado, who is the Lawtina, LAW, which I freaking love. And she's, here to share her story, her struggles, and, talk about a little bit of that money mindset. So, Maria, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really I've been following you as well, and it's so great to be able to have this conversation with you as opposed to just, commenting on each other's posts as we have been doing for some months now. So it's really great to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. Yeah, I know we've been just like, following each other on Instagram and liking each other's stories and stuff. So it's awesome to finally like kind of sort of meet over Zoom or whatever on this podcast. But before we get into the conversation, I definitely obviously, like introduce yourself, what it is that you do, just, a little bit about yourself.
Yes, absolutely. So, my name is Maria Delgado. I am an immigration lawyer. I've been a lawyer for over 13 years. About 3 years ago, I started my own law firm. Without a plan. Like, it was not intentional. It wasn't the dream, because for me, as with a lot of first gens, the dream was I wanted to have that secure job. I wanted to have that steady paycheck, and the dream was to go and have a prestigious career, make six figures. And it just felt like once you had that, like, then that was it, like that you made it, like you had arrived, so to speak. But what ended up happening with me is that I became a mom, and because I became a mom, I realized, or I noticed, that being an employee and being a mother were two things that were so incompatible with each other, especially as women. I think that as women, we are supposed to work like we don't have kids, and then we're supposed to raise kids as if we don't work. And it was just very hard. I felt like I lost the fire that I had in being a lawyer. I no longer had it. And I also resented that I was driving a lot. I was away from home a lot. And and then also, like, I don't know if it was like the Trump administration also, I was coming at the tail end of the Trump administration, and being an immigration lawyer was so tough during his administration that I was so burned out as well, that there was a moment that I actually thought, I don't even want to be a lawyer anymore. So I told my boss, and I said to her, I'm leaving. I'm gonna give you an entire month for you to find my replacement. I'm more than happy to give you those 2 extra weeks so that somebody can come in and I can help you train them. Because I just don't want to leave you hanging. And I had been with this company for about 7 years, and I think that she thought I was just having a bad week or a bad day, because she listened to me. She's like, "Uh-huh, okay, sure. Let's talk about it." And I was like, "This is my notice." And then she was sending me emails asking me, "So can we do a calendar meeting so we can figure out like which hearings we're going to be attending like a month from now?" I'm like, "A month from now, I'm not going to be working for you, so I don't know what you're talking about." Um, I didn't have a plan. I didn't have another job lined up, and I had moved from Los Angeles to Ventura, and Ventura is a much smaller community. So I honestly have no idea what I was thinking to just leave my job, because it's not like I was going to be able to find another job in Ventura County, like LA. Like in LA, there's tons of law firms and many opportunities, but Ventura and Ventura County, it's a very small community, and it's not a community that's tailored for professionals. So I was like, but I was just so done. I had 3 months worth of savings. I wasn't going to put it all on my husband to be financially responsible for our house. And I gave myself a month to sort of figure out what I wanted to do. At that time, we were also considering going back to the Bay Area, because we're originally from the Bay Area, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I took the entire month of December. I left at the end of November of 2019, and I took the month of December to bring my daughter. I spent time with my dad in the Bay Area. And then I also like I traveled to Mexico with my daughter. So my family had not met my daughter yet. So I traveled to Mexico with my daughter in December. And when I was in Mexico, a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, we heard that you're a lawyer. So how do we work with you?" And I was like, well, I don't know that I'm going to be a lawyer, but if you have questions, here's my number, right?" And when we came back, my brother, who has his own company, he provides business solutions for other businesses. He was like, "Well, why don't you just start taking cases?" And I was like, "No, I don't want to do that." I kept telling myself like, I like being a lawyer. I don't want to be an entrepreneur because I don't know anything about business. I don't know how to run a business. But honestly, like I think that all of those things were just a lie. I was just scared. I was incredibly scared to go on this venture. And he's like, "Well, then just like you're good. You're good at what you do. Just try it." And I was like, okay, I guess while I figure out what I'm gonna do, I will start letting people know that I'm a lawyer and that I can help, that I'm an immigration lawyer, that I'm located in Ventura. And that's essentially like how I started. So it's not like I had a plan. It's not like I already knew what I was gonna do. I had nothing other than a desire that like, okay, this isn't working for me. It's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think that that month really allowed me to see that, yes, I still want to be a lawyer. I don't want to be in a toxic work environment. I don't want to be working for somebody else anymore. And there was also an area within immigration that I realized like this type of law is really damaging to my mental health.
Mhm.
So I decided that I was not going to go to court anymore. And if I was going to do cases, then I was just going to have non-court cases. And like, so that's all I had in terms of like what I was planning to do with my business and my practice. And this is January 2020.
Oh
So we all
wow.
know what happened in March of 2020. And I think that when the pandemic hit, I was just like, I think I messed up. I think I made a really big mistake of leaving my quote unquote comfortable and safe, 9 to 5, which wasn't even a 9 to 5.
Mhm.
Um, but oh my God, like what was I thinking? Like, and I felt so bad. And it was a really scary time for a lot of people. But looking back 3 years back, the pandemic was the best thing that happened to my business. I had very small dreams. Even when I decided that, okay, I'm going to be a lawyer and I'm going to work for myself, the goal was, okay, I'm going to set up an office space and I'm going to be a lawyer, an immigration lawyer in Ventura County. And I'm going to have local clients and I'm going to do workshops. And that's how I'm going to grow the business. Like, that's how I thought I was going to get started. Well, with the pandemic, I couldn't have workshops. I couldn't see anybody. I couldn't meet up with anybody. And I was like, oh my goodness, ¿qué voy a hacer? Right. Um, and so again, my brother, he was like, take on to social media, use social media, let people know on social media that you're a lawyer. And I was like, no, I don't want to be one of those people. I don't want to be a social media person. Like, how embarrassing. Like, o sea, no, like, yo soy abogada. And he was like, it's free. And I'm like, no, people on social media are mean. And he's like, just try it. And if it doesn't work out, then no pierdes nada. You don't lose anything. And that's what I did. So very slowly, I still, feel a little cringe when I see videos from like 2020. I was like, hey, what was I thinking? But it was really uncomfortable. I'm an introvert. I am not an
Mhm.
extrovert. And I used to get so nervous to post, I was so uncomfortable in front of the camera. I was not doing lives at the beginning.
Mhm.
And every time that I went to do a live, like I would prepare and I didn't do it alone. I had my brother like go live with me. I'm like, okay, you're gonna ask me these questions, okay? And
Oh.
that's how I started. And because everybody was on social media, everybody was at home, bored out of their minds, and I think that people were really using social media to sort of like escape what was going on, especially in that
Mhm.
year. Um, so after the end of like 2020, I realized that I had doubled my income um,
Wow.
in a pandemic. Like, and
Wow.
to me, that was crazy because everyone had always said entrepreneurship is really hard. It is really scary. And sometimes it can take up to 5 years before you see a profit. And I was like, I just doubled my income in 1 year. And let me tell you, like I was working like a fraction of what I was working as an associate. And creo que ahí fue donde se me prendió el foco. That's where
Hmm.
the light bulb went. I was like, oh, okay. So at the end of 2020, I made my very first big investment. I invested in a coach. I remember like I hesitated. I hesitated so much. Like I was mulling over, like, oh my God, like this is a lot of money. What if it doesn't work out? And I paid $10,000 to this coach to work with her for 3 months. Uh, let me tell you, after the first month, I saw my like in the first month after working with her, I think that my business was generating, like the year before, the most I had made was like $20,000 in a month, and to me that was huge because that was more money than I had ever made in a month as an employee. But the very first month after I started this coaching program, like my company started generating 70K in 1 month, and I
Wow.
was like, that's almost what I was making as an associate in an entire year. Like,
Wow.
what the heck, So, and I think that ahí fue donde ya empecé. Like, that's when I really started. Like, okay, I don't know how to run a business. I don't know anything about entrepreneurship. I don't know anything about marketing. So, so what I did know is that I'm a really good student. I mean, I went to law school. I was the first in my family to go to college, go to law school, get a law degree. So I know that I'm a good student. I'm like, I just need to address and, come into entrepreneurship the very same way that I did, and doing all these other things that no one had shown me how to do before. So I'm just going to be a good student and learn how to be an entrepreneur. And that's essentially what I became. I became a student. I learned everything I could about managing, about growing a business, about setting up systems, and marketing. Marketing was so important. Sales was incredibly important. I had no money. I had no plan. And I started a business without any capital, without any debt. I had a very successful first year
Hmm.
with no debt. I mean, if anything, like in that first year, my husband and I were able to buy our first home. We had like he and I are both professionals. Like he and I were both making six figures each, and we were still struggling. We live
Hmm.
in California, so let's not forget that. We were
Yes.
both struggling to save enough money for a down payment. But when my business took off, we were able to get into a home in the pandemic in 2020 in about 5 months. So entrepreneurship like really allowed me to start building wealth, to start building assets. And I know some people think that, well, like a home is really not an asset, it's a liability.
Hmm.
But I'm like, no, it's still an asset. It's
Hmm.
something that it's appreciating, it's not depreciating in value. And this is something that I want to be able to leave for for my daughter. So that's essentially like how I got started. Again, I knew how to be a lawyer. And I
Hmm.
just kept telling myself, I don't want to be a business owner. I don't want to have my own law firm because I'm not good with money or because I don't know how to be a business owner. But to be quite honest, I think I was just scared. I was scared that I wasn't going to be able to make any money and that I was going to jeopardize, the financial, quote unquote, financial stability that I had given my family by being an associate working for somebody else.
I'm kind of like in the same mentality at this point where like you were saying, we get taught like, okay, you got to just study hard and just find a a stable career or whatever, and six figures was like the goal, right? And that was success. But what comes along with it is the aspect of that you are working for somebody else, that like you said, it's not meant for like women, especially moms. And that's the phase I'm in, of thinking of like, okay, now I want to start like a family, and I see like my coworkers like struggling because they have to go pick up the kids or whatever, or they can't spend time with their children. And then it's like I'm at that point where like I don't want that. And definitely I want my more free time, and have more control of my finances, and make more, because I see the possibilities of like yourself and other people, and I'm like, like I can do this. Like I've worked hard and studied. I do just like OSHA stuff and like safety.
Mhm.
So I was like, I have those skills, and I've built up other skills to where I can go now to taking that step to starting, this business of Money Chisme. Um, and like you said, it's definitely scary to think about it. And like, oh my God, what if I fail? I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And finding that kind of like coach or mentor. And I'm really big on mentorship, of having that person that's guiding you and showing you kind of a little bit of the way, from their experience, sharing their mistakes so you don't make the same ones, can help you definitely accelerate your journey. Yeah, like how you were saying at the beginning, you were scared. And so like how did you, start, because I know a lot of us that are like either thinking about starting a business or already in that, you have that fear of that you don't know what you're doing. What if I can't? What if I fail? Like how did you like talk yourself through those like fears?
I would love to tell you that I was so courageous, but the thing is that I was not courageous at all. Like it was a very scary time. And like I said, especially when the pandemic hit, I started to feel like all of those fears coming back and telling me like, oh my God, like you made a huge mistake. This is what I would tell people. Nothing is guaranteed. Success is not guaranteed, whether you're an employee or an entrepreneur. Um, what I will say though is that eventually with coaching and also therapy, therapy is also really important. I also started therapy because
Mhm.
I was really scared of what another 4 years of Donald Trump would do to my mental health in as an immigration lawyer. So I started therapy in preparation for another 4 years of Donald Trump because, like I said before, I was really burned out and it was really
Mhm.
tough to do what I do. So I started therapy, and I think that therapy helped me learn so much more about myself. It helped me basically it described a lot of the things that I didn't have a vocabulary to describe, and it helped me be more caring, more gentle with myself, because I think that generational traumas and things like that, our parents didn't know better. They did the best they could with the tools that they had. And I think I had a lot of insecurities, and some of these insecurities were the insecurities that my parents had basically passed down to me. These were their insecurities. My dad worked for the same company for like almost 40 years. I mean, who does that these days? Nobody. Why? Because it was scary to leave something that was for sure,
Mhm.
and I felt the same way. Like I was really scared to leave the job. But I think it was therapy that really helped me sort of like break free from some of these generational traumas, and basically forgiving myself for the mistake that I had made in the past, because this is what we do when we make a mistake, and it could be something very small, like maybe you bought a pair of shoes, because they look cute, but then like you wore them and they don't fit comfortably, and then like you beat yourself over it, like
Mhm.
telling like, oh, you're mensa, you're stupid, like you're not good with money, like you're so mean to yourself. But I'm like, in the grand scheme of things, like really, like a pair of shoes, like no pasa nada, it's
Yeah.
fine. You just know not to buy the same brand, don't make the same mistake next time. So be kind to yourself. And that's something that I really had to learn in therapy. I had to be kind to myself and allow myself to make mistakes. It is okay to make mistakes. I think that growing up, it was really scary to make mistakes. Si te portabas mal, canos, ¿qué
Mm-hmm.
te iban a hacer tus papás, you know?
Yes.
And I also think that as first gens, we don't have the financial runway to make mistakes when it comes to money.
Yep.
We don't have somebody who's gonna have our backs in case we, F up really, really big. So I learned to have my own back.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to trust myself, and I learned to, okay, it's really scary to make a decision. And one of the things to this day that I still struggle with is being um, being able to make a decision quicker. Um, and I remind myself, make a decision now. Si sale todo bien, great. Si no sale
Mm-hmm.
bien, then learn from it and move on. But stop beating yourself over it. Stop beating yourself over mistakes. Stop beating yourself over the past for which you have no control. Because when you're beating yourself up for a decision that was not the quote unquote right decision, that prevents you from making the decisions in the future. So I think that therapy taught me kindness, like be kind to yourself. And that was a type of like love language that I didn't really see or hear growing up
Mm-hmm.
because, I mean, I feel like white people, white men can fail. Y
Yes.
nadie dice
Yes.
nada,
Yes.
you
I see it
know?
all the time.
Like
Yep.
nadie dice nada. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but for me, as a Latina, as the first person in my family that went to college, like it's not like, well, yeah, statistically, not every college student will graduate. Pero para Latinas, it means like, oh shit, like we're here and we have to be good, and not just good, we have to be better than good, and we have to be
Mm-hmm.
better than everybody, because if we fail, then it's not just Maria who is failing, it's the entire Latina community that is failing.
Yes.
So we have all of these pressures, and that's why we feel like we cannot fail. Failure is not an option. Failure is a scary thing. As much as I want to congratulate like Latinas that are succeeding, and as much as I want to say like, oh, thank you for everything that you're doing, you're putting our name, estás poniendo nuestro nombre en alto, like
Mm-hmm.
that's a lot of pressure to put on young people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, go and do good because you want to do good. Go and do your best, and that's good enough.
Mm-hmm.
The more you fail, the more opportunities you have to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't do anything, si no haces nada, if you don't even try, then there's 100% guarantee that you will not succeed because you're not even trying. And I think that for me, like I said, therapy helped tremendously because it helped me with some of the generational traumas that I didn't even know I was
Oh
carrying.
man. Yeah. Yeah.
And also coaching, coaching allowed me to see myself as a business owner. I think that the first lesson that I learned was, if you are a lawyer starting your own law firm, you are a CEO before you are a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people don't see that distinction. You cannot be you can't treat your business as if you're a freelance person.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to treat it as a business, and a for-profit business is supposed to make profit. So make sure that you have the priorities straight.
That's why, like, I feel that sharing these stories helps our community a lot, because we're just kind of always like in the mindset, like you were saying, that we have to succeed, there's no failure or whatever. But in reality, there is failures along the way, and we have to learn to accept those failures as part of like the process, because like how you said it perfectly, failure eventually leads to success. That's more opportunities. Going back to how you were saying of healing these traumas, especially in our community, we have a lot of financial anxiety because
Mhm.
just with one not having, like you were saying, that financial foundation or from our families to be able to freely make those mistakes, like, you were saying, and I see it where, like the white, our white counterparts, they fail and that's fine. They go on to the next thing, no problem, because they have that support. And not saying that, our families don't support us, but it's
Mhm.
harder because
Yeah.
we are coming from, like struggling families for for the most part. And then it's one thing that I had to, work through this financial anxiety, this financial guilt, like you were saying, of like, dang, I can't buy that because what if I don't like it, this and that, like trying to with simple little things like shoes. And I think I've healed myself enough to where I'm like, okay. And it's funny because my husband has said that. He's like, oh, you buy this. I was like, well, if I don't like it, I'll just donate it. Like, it's fine. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's not a bad thing. So yeah, definitely glad that you mentioned that. So with that, for those that are interested in working with you, like how can you help them, and like where can they reach you? Where can they find you if they do want to work with you?
To having my law practice, one of the things that I also do is I like I'm a coach. Like I help other entrepreneurs, especially if you are a woman of color, and you're interested in starting your own law firm, because I feel like that's what I do. I want to be able to help you achieve what I have achieved, which is like I want you to be really good with sales so that you can actually have a profitable business that will allow you to do amazing work and service a very large percentage of the population. Because again, we deserve it as well. We deserve to get paid our worth, and we deserve to have financial safety and financial freedom. So if you want to work with me, you can work with me, and you can reach out to me with Latiamaria. So I'm on Instagram as Latiamaria, also on TikTok as Latiamaria. If you need legal services, immigration services, then you can reach out to me as Abogada Delgado. Two different entities. I, as Abogada Delgado, I'm an immigration lawyer. I can assist people across the country. So I work in all 50 states. I work remotely with a lot of clients. So that's how you can find me, and that's how you can reach me.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'll make sure to provide that information of how they can reach you down, like in the description, the notes. But other than that, I will see everybody in the next episode. Bye.
Bye.